Good afternoon, Musketeers. It's March 16th, 2018. I'm Ivana Dias.
And I'm Lily Walsh. This is Xavier News.
From the Xavier University Television Studio, this is Xavier News. Your campus, your region, your world. This is Xavier News.
Stephen Hawking, a British scientist and author, died at age 76 this past Wednesday. Hawking is well known for his work with Einstein's theory of relativity and found that space and time would begin with the black hole and begin with the Big Bang, and end in black holes. Considered by many to be the world's greatest living scientist, Stephen Hawking was also a cosmologist, astronomer, and mathematician. He suffered from ALS, or amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, a neurodegenerative disease. Although he was diagnosed in 1963 at age 21 and originally only expected a few years to live, with the help of his family and technology, he managed to live for 55 years. Stephen Hawking has lived longer than any other person diagnosed with ALS on record. Hawking leaves behind 3 children and 3 grandchildren, and his death is mourned all over the world.
Just yesterday, the FIU Sweetwater Bridge fatally collapsed at Florida College. The school had just finished putting up the 174-foot and 950-pound bridge. It had not yet been opened to pedestrians. However, multiple deaths were reported as vehicles were smashed beneath the rubble while waiting at a stoplight. One official stated, quote, "At this point, we can't even tell how many cars are under there. We won't have a count on bodies for a while. It's bad. It's really bad," end quote. Authorities closed down the highway surrounding the collapse and have called it a Level 2 mass casualty incident on a 5-point scale.
It has been less than a year since an Asian man was violently dragged off a United Airlines flight. This past Tuesday, another horrific incident took place on the same airline. A flight attendant ordered a woman who was traveling with her 11-year-old daughter and 2-month-old son to move her puppy's crate from the under the seat into the overhead bin. For more than 3 hours, the passenger's puppy was left inside an overhead bin on a flight from Texas to New York City. When the aircraft landed, the 10-month-old puppy had died. United's regulations clearly state that pets are allowed in the cabin when they are transported in crates that can fit under the seat. This airline has the highest rate of injury, death, and loss of pets. Last year, 24 pets died while in the care of U.S. carriers. 18 of those deaths happened on United flights. United said that they, quote, "assume full responsibility for this tragedy and express the deepest condolences for the family and are committed to supporting them. We are thoroughly investigating what occurred to prevent this from ever happening again," end quote.
Have you ever wanted to know more about your favorite coffee spot here on campus?
Nick Leontinese has more with the story about Cincinnati's very own Coffee Emporium.
My name is Hannah Bailey. I'm a junior graphic design major at Xavier, and I'm also a barista at Coffee Emporium. Coffee Emporium is a really cool Cincinnati coffee shop because it is actually the oldest coffee shop in Cincinnati. It's been operating since 1973 under Tony Tosh and Eileen Schwab. And what's cool about it is that they are like a really large company and they do the best that they absolutely can with all of the locations that they do have, and they have a really great staff to make it all happen.
My name is Lily Vardanian. I'm a sophomore at Xavier. I'm majoring in marketing and advertising, and at Coffee Emporium, I mostly work register. I'm not currently bar trained, but I take orders, I help heat up food, I can make some drinks, and I've really enjoyed all of it.
The direct trade aspect is probably one of the biggest parts of Coffee Emporium's coffee model, if you want to call it that. Every summer, more or less, they have the actual coffee bean farmers come over to Cincinnati and they do taste tests, and they have some of the workers come if they feel like it and come meet the actual farmers. One of them is Olga. Olga is like this awesome roaster. She comes in almost every summer and gets to meet everybody, and the process of making coffee is super important to how Tony and Eileen run their business. It's not just a business, it's their hobby and livelihood.
My favorite part about working at Coffee Emporium is probably the atmosphere. I just love how social and friendly it is, whether you're working in the Smith building or in the Gallagher building. I love that you get to see all the students, professors, all the faculty come through. I love being able to talk to my friends, and I love all the amazing coworkers I get to work with.
My favorite part of working at Coffee Emporium is getting to meet everyone from every corner of the campus. Being in Cohen as an art student, I'm not going to meet anybody else besides being in the center of campus where everyone gets to meet and hang out. So it's probably the best place to be to meet everyone.
Currently on campus we have 2 locations of Coffee Emporium. We have one in the Smith building, which is mostly the business students, even though we have some faculty come through as well. And then in the Gallagher Student Center we also have another Coffee Emporium.
In other local news, plans for the West End Soccer Stadium have currently been shut down after a battle between Cincinnati Public Schools and FC Cincinnati. The new stadium was proposed to go up in Oakley, included a $37 million infrastructure bond, money from taxes, and $2.5 million in capital funding. It would also include a 1,000-space parking garage on site. The plans to build have come to a halt as city officials discuss the logistics of building in Oakley, which is miles from downtown Cincinnati. People worry that building in a neighborhood will also create parking issues and cause more traffic. Newport was also proposed as a potential building location. As of now, the FC Cincinnati officials predict that there will be a finalized stadium plan by March 31st.
Students at several Cincinnati area schools stood with their classmates Wednesday and walked out of school as part of a nationwide demonstration. Wednesday marked 1 month since 17 people were killed at Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida. The 17-minute protests were intended to add pressure on Congress to approve gun control legislation. The protests have drawn mixed reactions from school administrators. Some applaud the students for taking a stand, while others have threatened discipline. Several local universities have issued statements saying that applicants will not be penalized for participating in the walkout, even if their high school issues a punishment.
Meanwhile, here at Xavier, approximately 202 students spent their spring break on an alternative break trip. Alternative Breaks is an organization on campus that plans trips all over the country, ranging from Cuba to Washington, D.C. to Idaho. AB focuses on an issue that the world is currently facing, such as homelessness and refugee resettlement. Xavier students were put in groups and sent on to 20 different locations, each focusing on a specific issue. They spent their week immersed in service and building relationships with the people they served. There's a survey on OrgSync to all those who participated are encouraged to fill out. Applications for fall AB trips are currently available for students.
All right, that's all from the news desk, people.
We'll be right back with Lucas Robbins and the Xavier Sports Report.
Xavier fans, I'm Lucas Robbins and this is your Xavier Sports Report. The Xavier baseball team is coming back from an 8-game road trip in California and is making their home debut on Sunday at 1 p.m. at Hayden Field versus the Miami of Ohio Redhawks. The team is coming off of back-to-back Big East championships and has a first-year head coach in Billy O'Connor, a 2008 Xavier alum and former college player here for 3 seasons. Hopefully he can continue our winning ways at home on Sunday. Of course, the big story as always is the Xavier men's basketball team. The Musketeers have earned a 1 seed to the March Madness tournament and was voted the 3rd best team in the country to end the season. the best Xavier has ever done in a season, along with winning a school record 28 games. The team's first game for the tournament is tonight at 7:20 p.m. versus the Texas Southern Tigers in Nashville, Tennessee. Our fourth of the bracket is considered one of the toughest, with Missouri having star player Michael Porter Jr. returning, Big Ten winners Ohio State, Gonzaga, who beat us last year in the Elite Eight, Houston, who's considered a potential bracket buster team, San Diego State with one of the best big men in the country called the Dominator, Michigan, Big East rivals Providence, who's always a great team to pull off some upsets, and North Carolina, who made it to the last 2 NCAA championships and won it last year, all in our section of the bracket. Despite this daunting challenge of a bracket, I remain steadfast in my prediction from the preseason that this will be the first team in Xavier history to make it to the Final Four. The team has avoided the pitfalls that could bring down this season and exceeded even my expectations for the regular season. The team is healthy, well-rested, and has avoided scandal, with a few exceptions of opposing fan bases getting upset at JP, and has gotten valuable contributions from personnel like Karam Cantor, Najee Marshall, and Paul Scruggs, along with returning players continuing to develop. My bracket predicts that Xavier will take care of business against Texas Southern, beat the Missouri Tigers, get revenge for last season versus Gonzaga in the Sweet 16, and defeat the defending champion North Carolina in the Elite Eight. If the Musketeers can accomplish this, then as NBA great Kevin Garnett once said, anything is possible. Be prepared, Musketeer faithful. This could be a special year for our team. This next week could be exciting, stressful, and momentous, but as fans, we must stay passionate and hopeful. This team can overcome a multitude of situations, so don't give up on them. And whether you watch the games at a party, a sports bar, a residence hall, or in your rooms, remember to respect Xavier property no matter what the result of the games are. In return, us as Xavier students just might be treated to a lightened course load to help us watch the games for the weekend, for what could be a once-in-a-lifetime event in school history. Stay classy, Xavier, and as always, let's go X.